everyone and welcome back to my channel. This is my booktubeathon wrap up and I have really surprised myself. I managed to do the 7 books in 7 days. I'll admit I did choose some thinner books for my challenge because I work full time and so I don't always get to read when I want to. So we'll start with the coin toss, which was Fallout by S.D Wasley. This is book 2 of the Incorruptables. The Incorruptables are a series, well, the characters in this are a group of young adults who find that they can understand things that are going to happen before they do. And it's about how they come together and find their powers and what they do and how they try to save. Book 1 is all about Francesca finding herself a part of the group but not feeling like she fully belongs. Book 2, another character comes along and really upsets the balance of the group, and it is all about whether or not they can remain strong through the trials that are presented in this book. I really enjoyed it. I gave it 5 stars from memory. And again, strong female lead, diverse group, and I've got one more in this series to read, which was initially the 3rd book but has now been more put as a companion novel. Challenge number 2 was something you always wanted to do or learn. Well, for me, I've always loved mysteries and detective stories, and I really fell in love with the Nancy Drew series when I was a teenager, so I decided that at one point I was going to join the forensics team. So I did some forensics units at uni, so I thought, well, this kind of fits that, because if I had continued down that path I may have become some sort of detective or at least a forensic chemist. So that's why I chose the Phantom of Pine Hill. In this one, Nancy Drew has to help an older gentleman and his housekeeper figure out how someone is getting in and out of the house undetected, and especially in and out of the locked library. In this one, Nancy's best friends, Bess and George, join her, as well as their 3 boyfriends, Ned, Bert and Dave. So this tells you a little bit more about their relationships. The 3rd one was a book to movie, and I chose Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. If I start watching series or reading books again, I always start straight back at the beginning. If I've stopped midway through and have left it for a while, I will again start at the beginning, because I like always starting from the beginning. So I'm not going to talk too much about the plot of Harry Potter, because I'm sure most of you watching this have heard it hundreds of times and don't need to hear it again from me. Again, I enjoyed reading this and rediscovering the world of Harry Potter and noticing the slight differences between this and the movie. Like how when Harry goes to Hogwarts, Hagrid doesn't take him to platform 9 3/4, or at least to King's Cross Station. His aunt and uncle do, and they leave him there. It was just lucky the Weasleys found it. He found the Weasleys and they showed him how to get on the train, otherwise he probably would have been stranded. The 4th challenge was a hat challenge, so you had to wear the same hat for the entirety of the book. So I chose, oops, that was just a marker that doesn't need to be in there anymore because I finished the book. I chose The Novice by Trudi, Canavan, And I listened to the audiobook of this. Yes, I have the physical book because I love physical books, but I also have found audiobooks are really helpful for me, especially at work. I do a lot of data entry for my role, but I tend not to be able to concentrate too well with people coming in and out of the office because I'm in one of those open plan offices. So I found putting headphones on and listening to an audiobook while doing data entry has actually helped me focus. So this was my audiobook for booktubeathon, and yes, I wore a Gryffindor beanie for the entire time I was listening to this, even in the office. I got a few comments on it, and the site manager joked that if I wasn't careful it was going to go missing because one of my co-workers was admiring it. And my guess is if my co-worker had grabbed it, it would have ended up with one of his kids, but that doesn't bother me. I like the beanie. If you want to know, if you're in Australia and you want to know where you can find a lot of Harry Potter bags and like house pride stuff, JJ's. JJ's had the beanies. At one point it had scarves. I got a satchel from them about a year and a half ago. So yeah, they're full on with the Harry Potter house pride. Anyway, back on to The Novice by Trudi Canavan. This is book 2 in the Black Magician trilogy. I gave this book 5 stars on Goodreads. And there are a few things that when rereading this, I noticed that I didn't notice before. When I read this in high school, I wasn't aware of the queer community. I was barely aware of it. I knew that there was a girl in my school that was a lesbian, and that was about my knowledge of it. Fast forward 10 years, and I myself am in a queer relationship. And so rereading this now, I realised that one of the characters in here, who is one of the 4 or 5 main characters, has some questions about well, there were some rumours floating around when he was a teenager as to his orientation. And because of where and when this is set, it was suppressed because it was almost taboo to be queer. So that's why I'm really enjoying this, and I was really surprised that I didn't pick it up back then. In this one, the main character is being bullied by another novice. She herself is a novice, because of her background. And she has to somehow keep her strength and chin high during all this bullying. And while this bullying is going on, there is another darker underplot that she's drawn into as well. I'm not going to talk about that because that then spoils the next book as well. So this undercurrent flows through all 3 books, although you don't really know how it's going to end. There's some hints in this one as that what was thought in the first book may not necessarily be what's happening in the 3rd book. So yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed this. If you want a magical story that has a female protagonist as the main protagonist, then I recommend The Novice by Trudy Canavan. 5th was Green on the Cover, which I have just managed to almost drop on the floor. And this was my Green on the Cover. The Forest of Silence, which is book 1 of Deltora Quest. This follows a 15-year-old boy. After a huge war, he is trying to get his country back from a tyrant lord. So he was living with his mum and dad, trying to keep his head down, being unobtrusive. He doesn't know why. And in this book you find out that his parents are friends with the heir to the throne, the rightful heir. And so his dad was supposed to go out and complete this quest to restore the heir to his throne. Unfortunately, due to an accident, his father can't, and so it's fallen to the son. In this, Leaf is looked after by a beggar who turns out to be a palace guard. And together the two of them go off to find the first gem of the belt of Deltora, which is the topaz and is located in the Forest of Silence. So that was this one. Then there was the Beautiful Spine Challenge, which was challenge number 6. And I chose Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, the illustrated edition. And of course it is extremely pretty. Of course I'm not finding them. And has lots of illustrations throughout. So it was a nice quick read. Although of course I skipped the very first beast because I am arachnophobic, and looking at arachnomantulas is not my cup of tea. I had already read that page in the other format one of the other formats that we have here, which is the paperback, which was the original. So I made myself read that, so I was like, I can kind of skip that page because I'd already read it and knew what it said. So yeah, that was the 6th one. And the challenge, last one, was to read 7 books in 7 days. So for my 7th book, which was just a filler, I read a graphic novel, which was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It's a very quick read. It was about how the turtles came to get their powers, and as you can see in this, they're not actually wearing their distinctive coloured masks, which didn't help me because I'm so used to seeing Leo in blue, Donatello in purple, Mikey in orange, and Raph in red. Well, they were all wearing red, and I'm like, which one's Raph? And then, because there was only 3 of them, none of them were Raph. So, I guess that's just a product from watching the TV show as a kid. I enjoyed it. I've just found that unless it's a graphic novel I'm heavily interested in already, I find them hard to hold my attention. But that was my 7 books in 7 days for booktubeathon. Talk to me in the comments if you want more information on any of those 7 books. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have, and hopefully I will see you in another video soon.